Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, welcome back to another Exotic Car Play Place live stream today. And you know what? I just want to talk about a reference to a video I just posted yesterday, and it was the car dealers can't sell certain vehicles. There seems to be, no matter what kind of incentives, no matter what kind of promotions, no matter what's going on, car dealers are not able to sell these new vehicles. I've got my list right here. I'm going to share that with you, but in summary, I'm going to put this out there. If any of you have not seen the video, please go to Exotic Car Play Place and check out my video from yesterday, which was November 6th, about the cars, the cars that people aren't buying, and the junk cars that dealers are not paying for or buying right now. Because there's clearly a common denominator why some of these vehicles are not selling. And if you have any thoughts as to which vehicles you believe the dealers are not able to sell right now, I'd like to hear you drop specific models, not so much brands, although there are some consistencies in the types of brands that aren't selling. Feel free to drop it in the chat section down below there, and see if you can guess some of those vehicles. Maybe you've seen the video already. Faisal, hey, United Kingdom, right on. Hope you're doing well there, Faisal. Hope things are keeping well there for you. And I appreciate you stopping in and watching today's video. I really do appreciate that. And again, thanks a lot for the extra support there, Faisal. Thanks again for popping in and saying hi. I'm trying to hit some of these live streams. Gives you all an opportunity to sort of get out there and have some chats with me. Basically 1 on 100 or however many of you decide to join in. Good afternoon as well. Impending Doom says, good evening, mate. Well, great having you in there as well, too. And I appreciate you stopping by, and everybody here who decide they want to stop by and have a chat with me, I guess, here, Mark. It's funny because I know what my name is, and yet I had somebody the other day ask me what my actual name was, because I spend so much time focusing on the channel, the content, but not enough about me personally and kind of what makes me tick. What do you got? Almost 128 manual on cars and bids. That'd be a fun little car. Stellantis is a disaster. You name it, 100%. Yeah, thanks, Trolge. Yeah, you betcha. Appreciate that. And I do agree. Stellantis actually they own a significant part of this list of biggest loser cars that are not selling. And so if we're talking about cars that can't sell, do you think there's an opportunity for the buyer at some point if these vehicles sit longer and longer and longer on the lot? Yeah, you betcha. I mean, there's lots of opportunities to get some deals out there. I'm going to flip this back here. Faisal says, no problem, mate. Always catch your videos. Very informative and has influenced my decision in buying my car. Right on. What kind of car is that there, Faisal, you picked up? And I'm glad I'm able to provide some kind of extra feedback there and offer up some good, recommendations. I do want to talk about, too, a video coming up, actually. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's I've got a video release, which is going to be an interesting one, really interesting one, because it really speaks to the car enthusiasts and Faisal and the rest of you. A lot of you are here because, on one hand, we like our, reliable cars, but more on the other hand, we like those special cars, those fun cars. And so tomorrow's video is really nailing the fact that there are some still amazing old school cars that you're going to want to think about. You might even want to scoop them up, because with what's going on, the trajectory of the car industry today, can you imagine the kind of garbage is going to be coming out in the industry in, say, 10 years from now? What kind of cars are going to be out there and available? So the good, fun cars, the enthusiast vehicles, are not going to be there forever. And so this is an opportunity to pick up what's left of the good stuff, the fun stuff, the enthusiast vehicles. And so tomorrow's video is about that. Faisal, he said, BMW 430 B48 engine. That's a great buy, 100%. Yeah, those are peppy. That's a great car. The 4 Series, you like the coupe, so that's I mean, those are great cars. I mean, you should have fun with that for sure all day long. I'm not sure if you're saying over, um, let's see, what do we got here? Another one. Not liking Ford right now. Um, yeah, I think, see, and I've got on my list of cars that are not selling that well, Ford is actually on that list. And I'm going through my list here right now. I've made some notes. But again, this is on yesterday's video. So if you want to see a little more detail on the cars that we're going to talk about that are not selling, definitely want to check it out. You know, I chatted with our boys from Car Edge. Car Edge, they're dropping a line. They put basically a list of numbers of cars that are not selling very well because of market day supply. You know, the market day supply is a bit of a calculated, a bit of a number to go by when you look at cars and how poorly they're selling. It's a number that represents the ultimate amount of backlog a car manufacturer has. For example, if you have a car manufacturer that has 150 days supply, that means based on the current sales rate, in other words, selling, say, 30 cars a month, 50 cars, 100 cars a month, whatever that is, it'll take them that long, 100 days, if they stopped production today and they sold every car in the entire system, they sold it and didn't produce any more, that's how many days it would take to sell out the current inventory. So that's what yesterday's video is about. And again, if you haven't seen it, those are the biggest losers. So when you have cars that are sitting on the lot and they're not selling that well, that's clearly going to be a car that you might be able to get a great deal on. And here, let me just make a note here. I've got to, let me just see here. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for good deals. Let's see. Okay, so lots of good deals out there. So when you have a long market day supply, Car Edge put together a list, and I basically kind of worked in conjunction with the fact that I'm out there looking and validating what we've got on car lots, showing you that in fact, you know, double checking, validating, authenticating the vehicles that are on the lot and how many are actually out there, and telling you that yes, this is a story, this is real, these cars are not selling, and that means you might be able to get a great deal. So let me just see here. Not liking Ford in Oz. John Marshall says, what do you think of a 2021 Mercedes-Benz C300 station wagon? Got an extended warranty on it. You know, I've shared my experience with them, and I think, John, overall, we like our car. We have a C300, a 2018, so it's a similar generation as what you're looking at. They said the earlier generations had engine issues because there was a problem, I think, with fueling, detonation. The PCV valve is a common issue with those cars as well. Electronic sensors can be a problem, but I found that seems to be attributed to do not wash under the hood. Don't let your dealers ever shampoo the engine because it could be susceptible to problems. And we've also seen issues because of low battery voltages. So there's the main battery, but then there's a little auxiliary battery, and I believe it's under the trunk as well. So make sure you got good batteries. But yeah, I mean, other than that, we like our car. And I'm hoping that you like yours too. You know, it's good on fuel. It's peppy. It's a really stylish looking car. And I think you did pretty well there with that car. I mean, what else do you buy in that space? Audi doesn't have that much, in my opinion. So then you're competing with BMW, and you know it's kind of a flip of a coin at that point. Extended warranty is good to have. Again, certain things like the PCV are covered under a factory extended warranty for 10 years. That was an extension because it was allegedly a faulty part. But yeah, it's good to have that extended warranty. I agree. Tesla bumped up prices. Clueless. Why would Tesla bump up prices? You know what? I don't even know what to tell you there. But yeah, I mean, things are changing. Although I heard on certain models, there was a base trim 3, or was it the Y? They were actually incentivizing a specific model, and they were offering up really aggressive lease terms. So, I mean, if that's what you're looking for. Faisal, you won't believe this, Mark, but there is a strong rumor that in the upcoming budget, the chancellor is going to target electric vehicles with a pay per mile tax. That, you know what? See, that's what happens, right? And I think, I don't want to get political, but it's not about the politics, because it doesn't matter if we're talking about any brand, specifically the EV system in the market. There was a lot of push to get people into the market. I think it started eating into market share overall, all EVs, and then once that happened, those that had electric vehicles realized that a lot of these localized governments were starting to tag and follow through GPS and send sort of a general a tax bill to say, hey, you're not paying road tax at the gas pump, but you can probably pay it here now. So here's your bill. Thank you very much. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Dr. Trolge says, Charger EV with fake exhaust, absolute trash. I agree. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N has the same fake exhaust tone. Mach-E, still real exhaust sounds. Jaguar F-Type R, best exhaust tone ever. I agree that I've driven some really amazing cars in my day, and I do feel blessed to have done that. But I will say the F-Type R, still to this day, there's no better sounding car on the market. You could spend 4 times the amount of money, and it won't sound as good as an F-Type R. So I would agree with that. And Faisal says this is on top of road tax. Only a matter of time before they target petrol. That is, yeah. I think what we're seeing all over the place is a harder and harder squeeze, taxation on everything, fuel and EVs and electrification, and I guess we're taxed on living. I saw something the other day about housing and whatnot too, but there could be even taxes on primary residence here. I've heard in Canada, so it's happening all over in every different form and every different way, from cars to houses. But anyway, we move on, and all we can do. And the way I look at this is, I don't even like politics. I really don't follow much of it. I only follow where things are relevant to the car space to me, because I like cars, and to me, honestly, I just stay out of politics. It's just not my game. I don't even care. I love fun cars, and that's kind of where I kind of keep my nose poked into. I don't get too involved in the political stuff. There's just too much crap going around either way. So let's see here. We have, what is this? Sorry, Searler. Can't really tell here. Searler Knoll. So it says, I know Stellantis still has the Hemi-Tick issues. Cummins lifters. GM has crank oiling issues. Big recalls. Turning buyers off more than ever. OEMs are killing off brand loyalty. You know what? I think to the point, brand loyalty is going away. I think what you're seeing is, there was a time when if you were a Ford person, you had Ford trucks, cars, SUVs. You liked Fords. If you like GMs, you like GMs. If you were a BMW person, you kind of just owned BMWs and you navigated that market. But I think one fun part of free enterprise and the market, and that there's so much diversity. There's certainly so much different types of vehicles that we can choose from. It's great. But yes, loyalty is going away, because there's no longer a consistent quality brand. In my opinion, it's actually hard to navigate and find a car that seems to be escaping a lot of these quality problems, a brand even in general. I mean, even look at Toyota. They've been struggling for a long time. Looking at E55s and 20-year-old German cars, less electronics, less problems, still fun. I agree. That's what tomorrow's video is about. That's what tomorrow's video is about. So if you want to show up tomorrow, everybody, I don't know if you're getting your notifications. I've heard from a few of you viewers already that they haven't seen my videos for like ever, and then all of a sudden, bang, one popped up. But they're not getting either recommended, or they're not getting notifications. I guess the best thing I could suggest is resubscribe, or at least turn on all your notifications. to the channel if you're interested in seeing more of my content. I've been doing this for a long time. I eat and breathe and sleep cars, and I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate that. I've been doing this for almost 11 years now with this exotic car play place, and it's stemming from a place of enthusiast. I love driving these cars. So have you owned any AMGs? Not AMGs myself. I've driven many. I've got friends that have AMG cars. So I get the gist. I know what they're about. But I've never actually owned an AMG. I can't say. I've owned a few Benzes, but no AMGs. Thoughts on the M156 versus the M157 twin turbo? Well, the turbo, we know the later turbo engines definitely had a little more power, or at least out of the box, I guess. The later generation of the M156, what is it? That special edition had 507 horsepower versus now that's kind of where the new engine takes off. So they're both cool. I would own either or, but actually it's funny you mention that. I love that you mention that, because tomorrow's video, just a little wink, wink, a little hint, I actually feature one of those Benzes. It's in tomorrow's video. So you're going to want to take a look at it. And I'm glad you asked, because it's in tomorrow's video. I'd heard Jay Leno likes the E55 as his daily. I've also heard that he dailies a Countach. So, when you're the king, I guess you could do kind of whatever you want. But Jay Leno is living the dream. So I definitely respect the guy. He's a class act. He's always been a class act through and through, not just from his comedy, but to the enthusiast world, the cars, and even just his persona and the way he carries himself. He's a class act. He's a lot of fun to watch. And I was terrified when I saw that video of that older gentleman had that hot rod and took Jay Leno for a ride and almost basically rolled that car. Almost took Jay out. It was tragic. Good thing he walked away from that. We see Impending Doom says, yes, have the 2010 E63 AMG. Oh, yeah. 6.2 liters of fury. You know it. Love it. Hardworking man. You betcha. Thumbs up. So back to the conversation of the cars that aren't selling. Nobody wants them. Nobody's buying them. And I've got my list here. So I'm just going to walk through this. Now, this is a video I released yesterday, but I'll give you Cole's notes. So if you want to see a little bit more information on that, feel free to jump over there. And I'll link that video in at the end of this when I put this one back on the system and it goes live. Right now it's a live stream, but once it goes back onto the system as a video, I'll be sure to link up yesterday's video, because you want to see that. Because remember, if there's cars that are not selling on the car lot, first ask yourself the question, why? Which I explained some of that in the video. But then also ask yourself, do you think they'll negotiate? And in many cases, they will. Not always. There's some cases where, like Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, I've already talked to people in every one of those OEMs, local dealers. I've literally walked in and chatted with GMs and salespeople. And a big problem is lack of inventory in those car brands right now. And a lot of that is because tariffs, and some of the OEMs decided to slow down production to the U.S. markets and Canadian markets because of this, more U.S. markets, because of the tariffs that are applied. And they didn't want to adjust their own prices to start passing that down to the consumer. So a lot of it is, from what I understand, that they don't want to pass those extra costs down. So they've been slowing the sales, and there's less inventory. And so here, let's just walk through that. I'll give you a couple examples of yesterday's video and the cars that are not selling. So the Audi S4 is one vehicle that's not selling. Okay. Again, if you haven't seen the video, check it out. I explained a lot of detail why that is. The Audi S4 is 198 days supply based on the market day supply, which I already talked about. And that's basically, if you stopped production today, how many days it would take to sell the outstanding inventory. And Car Edge kind of put together a list. I validate the list I check out in the lots. I talk to salespeople. I see what kind of inventory is actually on the lots. It's easy to take and throw numbers around without being actually out in the field. Like, there's a lot of armchair warriors that make all kinds of claims and say all this and say all that. But as you all know, I'm no bullshit. I'm out in the field. I'm out there with the cars, touching the cars, showing you the cars. And when I see inventory and I see 40 of one model, then I promise you there's a lot of inventory. And that's where I'm coming from. Is Audi A5 2018 good? I would go with the S5. Personally, I don't. The A4 and the A5 have never. They've been popular sellers, but I'm never the biggest fan of EA 888s. I'm not the biggest fan of TFSIs, or honestly, it's more about the drivetrain. The car is beautiful. The Audi makes such a nice car. The lighting, the interior. I think Audis make some of the nicest finish inside. The Quattro all-wheel drive system is one of the best. And so, from an overall package, it's great. I'm just not the biggest fan of the engines in the A4s and A5s. I've mentioned those in previous videos too. What do we got here? Trinaman says, yes, 2018 C63S AMG, loving it. Oh, yeah. I love those. I've driven those and sucking gas and hauling ass, right? That's what I say. What else we got here? My third Audi A5. But yeah, I don't know if they're good to keep over 110,000 kilometers. See, that's the thing. They're all great. Audis, Benzes, Beamers, Jags, Alphas, Maserati. I mean, they're all amazing cars for 60, 70, 80,000 miles. The question is, what do they do after that? I mean, a lot of people don't care anymore because a lot, enthusiasts put 5,000 kilometers a year. You run that for 10 years. That's 50,000 kilometers. You run it for 20 years. That's 100,000. By that time, you don't give a shit. The car's so old and outdated. So it doesn't always matter all that much. But yeah, either way, it can. And a lot of these cars will start to see problems, coolant leaks, oil leaks, pan gasket problems, intake manifold gaskets, BMWs. I mean, we know these are problems. Carbon fouling on a lot of the modern direct injected engines are problems. Turbos will usually last. A lot of people bitch and moan about turbos, but they rarely are a problem. If you do your oil services and you give them proper cool down, turbos usually aren't that big of a deal. Everybody squawks and balks, but my experience, ask yourself this. 911 Turbo has been building turbo engines forever. They keep them bolted together. Diesel engines, I know it's a different fuel. It operates differently. It's a much cooler system. But still, I mean, ultimately, turbos can be a good technology if they're built right, designed right, and maintained. Let's see. The boy Kev says, do you think it's better to just lease German cars versus keeping them? For some people, I think lease, there's no silver bullet here, unfortunately. For me, I'd rather own them. I never lease a car ever. And to me, leasing's like borrow it for a few years and then hand it back. You just basically rented a car for 3 years. The flip side is I'm pretty good at wrenching. I'm not scared to get my fingers dirty. I don't mind troubleshooting. Even if I can't fix something, I'm able to grab my diagnostic equipment, get in there and get kind of dirty and figure it out. And then I start hunting for maybe this is an outstanding recall or a bulletin. And I love that the pursuit. I like the hunt, if you will, for problems. And I navigate my way through that. And I find that a bit of a challenge. And for me, that's kind of exciting. But it's not exciting for everybody. So it kind of depends. If you want to daily it, if you're going to use it, but you're not hands-on, you don't have a place to park it, you can't work on your own stuff. Yeah, I mean, German cars, there are good ones. The B48, the B58 are pretty solid. The RS5, the RS3 and TTRS have that Turbo 5. I mean, there are some engines and some drivetrains that are pretty robust, but there's some that are a mess. So it's not a one-shot fire, kind of suits all, but again, lease for some, lease none for others. For me, I'd rather buy a car when that first buyer sells that car, right? Joe Blow comes in there, buys that new BMW M5, pays $150,000. Along comes Mark. 4 years later, that car's only got 48,000 kilometers on it. And I'm able to get that car now for $70,000. That's where I come in. I save a ton of money. And that's how I see it. And then that's where I buy my cars. And you don't generally lease used cars. So that's kind of how I see it. But I agree. Yeah, you betcha. Some great leases went away recently. Here's a car I would possibly lease. I mean, if you ever want to think about an EV, I've heard of people like looking getting a short-term lease on an EV. They depreciate like they're going out of style. Anyhow, there's a risk of, you may not like it, the batteries. I mean, I'm not buying an EV anytime soon. But for those that are thinking about that, I mean, a lease seems to make sense. And sometimes there's some of these EV manufacturers are really hungry for sales right now. The market share is dying, and we've seen ever since that $7,500 tax credit went away, a lot of these manufacturers are getting really hungry like the wolf. So at the end of the day, it's one of those things you probably you might even consider leasing or wait for a good opportunity. What do we have here? They are slowly getting rid of do-it-yourselfers. Some cars required a dealer trip just to change the bulbs. Yeah, I know what you mean. Our X5 even had on the tail lights. One light was when you lift up the tailgate, the light that was on the body we could change. The light that was on the hatch actually had a module and it burned out. And I went to the dealers. I said, do you have a light for this or how does that work? They said, no. That's a complete sealed unit, module and everything. And it was like something like $1,500. I'm like, screw that noise. And I just drove around with a burnt out taillight for the next 3 years. And I'm not getting sucked into that. Bobby De Niro X, hey brother, hey, how's it going? I'm glad to see you're bought by again. And I'm glad I'm able to get another live stream here for you all. But I am walking and talking through some of the cars that are not selling and dealers are just super hungry and they can't sell. The first one I mentioned was an S4. Oh, part of the reason an S4 is there because the S5 is revised. So people are looking at the S4, but the S5 is brand new with a more powerful output on that V6, as well as has a dual clutch instead of the other one, which is a torque converter. It's a hotter, faster, more aggressive car with some nice exterior and interior updates. So that's why the S4 is not selling. What else do we got? A Ram 2500 is sitting at 200 days. Stellantis, what do you say, right? High prices, gouging. That's what I saw in the last few years. The next one, Audi Q8. You just mentioned that down there. An Audi Q8 I saw in the chat here. Where did I see that? Wow. If you can get the parts. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just scouring the comments. Here we go. I saw an Audi Q8 e-tron for $30K and only 80,000 kilometers, which is crazy. Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, the Q8, because the Q8's the third slot, 201 days market day supply. So they weren't selling all that well. Nobody's really buying them. The few that are buying them, sure, probably love them. But then you look at what you're talking about there, car for sale, reasonable miles on it for cheap like that. That's like a third the price of that car, almost. Like it's probably I don't know. It's 40% of the value originally. So that seems like a good deal. Land Rover Discovery is another one, 202 days supply. That's the next one that's just not selling. You should do a review on the new B10 generation Audis. Absolutely. I'll see what I can come up with. Picked up a new Pegasus Bridge says, picked up an X3 M40i a few weeks back. What are your thoughts about the B58 plastic oil filter housing longevity? I've heard of leaks and even disintegration of the housing. Yeah, I did a video on that, the B58 and everything, the good, bad, and the ugly about it. I did a video there a few weeks back where I kind of talk about the B58 a little bit. I think the timing chain at the firewall is not great. The older models, depending on what year you're dealing with there, the older models up to about 2020 had a plastic oil pump as well, which had a small number of failures. So the 21 and later kind of had the metal one. So that was improved. The oil filter housing. See, I think some of that is, at least the filters that are collapsing, is a problem of these long oil service intervals. They start to disintegrate and it starts to pull it in and can make a real mess of things. That's where I keep saying, doesn't matter if you're driving a BMW or an Audi, a Benz, a Ferrari, I don't care, but do the oil services sooner than later. The oil filter housing is a leak point with age. I experienced it. I've seen it in just about every one of those inline sixes, and it seems to be an ongoing for every one. It's not a showstopper for me. It's like it's one of many potential failure points on any given vehicle. On BMW, that's a weakness. But I can't say I would run from the car for that. No, I mean, what you're looking at is a collection of problems, right? And that's one of, sure. The B58 just has less problems than, say, like an N54 or N55. So the this bulk and frequency of problems that those older engines had are just less. It doesn't mean they're exempt. The B58 still will have some issues, but overall, it's a much more durable engine, better bottom end, better fueling, less issues, possibly less leaks. The oil encapsulation or the heat encapsulation thing keeps the temps kind of at bay, so you have less of a problem with the big swings and cracking plastics. But any one of those things can be a problem. That being said, I still stand by the B58 as a stout engine, and definitely I think you've got one of the good ones there. The only thing you could look at as well, the X3M, which gives you the bigger, even hotter engine. They have similar issues, but just a little more power. EV not recommended up north, too cold. Yeah, no kidding. Hey, and it's like snowing out here today. Bobby De Niro, is it the electric side of the cars a bit dodgy, or is it smart tech electronics side and software bugs? Or the more of the smart tech electronics. I think, see, EVs are one thing, but any vehicle nowadays has an overload of electronics and tech, and whether it's apps like CarPlay, Android Auto, text and navigation, touch screens, all of this tech overload. I mean, back in the day, we thought heated seats and a sunroof were tech. That's nothing now. It's all the other integration and modules. Yeah, and would you believe it? Most vehicles now, when you look at JD Power statistics and we talk about the problems per 100 vehicles, the vast majority of those problems are actually coming as a result of tech and electronics and integration of electrical components, more so than even mechanical issues. That said, like Ford owns the recall. They're the recall kings. So go figure. Anyhow, let's just see here. Would electric cars without smart tech work better? Probably not. I still feel, I mean, I guess we'll see, right? That little slate truck might be coming out. That's going to have a lot less integration, but it will still run fundamentally with electric motor, electric drive, batteries. We'll see as we start to see more and more of these simpler EVs pop out. We'll see, but I suspect there's still a certain amount of safety tech that goes in there that has to be. A lot of it's mandated, right? So I think a lot of that. These cars are just very complex. I don't think there's a way around it, but that's kind of the way I see that. Swarm Finder says I'd look at a 2019 Stelvio Quadrifold, absolutely, but notice there's a serious recall. What's the recall on that one? I'm not totally boned up on that latest recall for that. What is your current personal car? I drive a truck actually, and see, I've got a pickup truck. We have a barrage of vehicles. And you've seen all of them on the channel, from a Camry to a Benz to a Beamer M5. We've got a RAV4. We have, that new little shiny yellow Italian car. My daily, I'm using a Ram. I've got a half-ton truck right now that I'm driving around. And it's been amazing. I mean, it's clunky, it's rattly, it's electric stuff sometimes doesn't work, and I can advocate for that. But it works, and so I don't put a lot of miles on these days. So I kind of grab whatever car suits my need. But if I'm kind of just heading to the mall or something like that, I'll probably just grab the truck. Let's just see here. Domestic car brands are overpriced. 100 grand for Grand Wagoneer. Lexus TS base is 57. Better and safe value. I couldn't agree more, Dr. Trolge. Yeah, you betcha. I think, I actually created a video, and I know I have the pretty good backlog of videos coming up here around moving into Christmas and the New Year. But I actually kind of talk about this very idea and why are the domestic cars these days more money? Like when we think about 20 years ago, they were cheap. They were half the price of European competitors. And over the years, we've sort of seen this market kind of change. Japanese cars have come up, domestic cars have come up, Euro cars have also gone up, but it feels like they're slowing down. And so it's all sort of meeting up in the middle. And now it's becoming more of a free market competitiveness where they're all just competing with each other. And it's no longer the value that that vehicle offers you, it's the value compared to that manufacturer or that manufacturer. And if they're giving you widgets A, B, C, D, E for $60,000, and these guys give you widgets that are similar to A, B, C, D, E for $60,000, they know that consumers are just shopping around dollars and value components, right? So now that they're selling it on that, it's not even a quality discussion anymore. It's really more about widgets, add-ons, features, options, tech, and then compare that all with the underlying price tag. There's a lot of junk out there right now that shouldn't be priced anywhere near what it is, but we see that, and I agree. It's a ridiculous case, but that's where we're at. I got to go. Have a lovely day. Yeah, you betcha. Thanks again for stopping by. Catastrophic engine failure recall. No fix yet. Do you know what kind of recall that was? Actually, I'm not totally sure about that. I'm not too familiar with that situation. Anytime the government mandates tech in vehicles, a disaster. Yeah, just leave the car business alone. Let them compete and fail and flounder as they will, or thrive, right? And let the good ones rise to the top and let the crap ones sink. What do we got here? That boy K. I think some car companies will go bankrupt soon. Laugh out loud. I think you're right. I think it's inevitable. Some of these car brands are going to go, up. They're going to bury themselves with greed and overprices and poor quality. I think those are the factors. Let me just see here. Okay, the next one is, sorry, I already mentioned Land Rover Discovery. Volkswagen Taos is another one, 215 days. Wow, those have had all kinds of problems. Lincoln Aviator, 219 days. Big problem there. Big problem there. Nobody's buying them. And, they've had problems there. 400 horsepower EcoTurd, 3-liter engine. It's actually a peppy unit, 3-row. It's actually good looking. I think for me, it's actually the best looking vehicle from Lincoln, but they're not selling that well. Ford Mustang, and I promise you there'd be a Ford on this list, and it was mentioned earlier. Another vehicle that's not selling, and car dealers are not selling, are not having a good time selling a lot of these vehicles, is the Ford Mustang with 225 days of market day supply. Or in other words, if they stop production today, it would take 225 days to sell the outstanding inventory across the nation based on current sales rates. Hope that kind of clears that up. I miss the days when cars were simple. Yeah, same here. About the Alpha recall I mentioned earlier, it was an engine failure recall. Ouch. That's never good. We see had an EV catch fire a few doors from us, took out the garage and part of the house. Ooh, ouch, impending doom. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. Wow. Yeah. So tomorrow, like I said, if you guys are enthusiasts, Exotic Car Play Place, I'm one of the biggest car enthusiasts. I mean, there's people that talk the talk, but when it comes time to, walk the walk, I love cars. That's just how it is. And that's just the way it's going to be. And so because of that, tomorrow's video is going to feature some of the last best luxury cars available before this ridiculous notion of 2035 rolls around and we won't be able to get anything like this even by 2030. Actually, even right now, think about Mercedes. You can't even get a twin turbo V8 right now in their AMGs anymore. They pissed that goodbye. That's all gone. Now they're putting little four bangers in there and a hybrid teed up to it. And let's just see here. I want an E39. Yeah, E39. I agree. M5 with a manual. Yes, perfect. I agree. That's a great car. Pegasus Bridge, to your point, 2013, I priced out Wrangler for 19,900 Canadian. Today, the base starts at basically 39,000, albeit without the base without the base wheels, steel wheels. And we know, like, wheels, that's BS. That's just an upgrade, an easy piece to upgrade and charge people extra. But when you're at it in the factory, steel wheels versus aluminum wheels, what's the difference really? It's probably $40 to the manufacturer and upgrade, but they charge you an extra $2,000 to upgrade the wheel package. But yeah, that shows you how much things have gone up. It's just out of control. Not a fan of adaptive cruise. Neither am I. I had a friend that almost kind of had his Mazda lock up a couple times in his CX-50 because it kind of assumed there was some pedestrian front and it kind of basically locked it up at freeway speeds. Scary. Lane keep assist is new tech I really like. Haven't tried vented seats yet though. I sold my E34. These prices are more than E39s now. I know, like even E34, that's crazy. I like ESD on the Tesla Model 3 a lot. Yeah, there's some tech out there that kind of makes it interesting. So other cars that aren't selling worth a crap right now are the Maserati Grecale at 259 days market day supply. The Maserati, and I like the Maseratis. I'm not going to lie. I have a soft spot for them. Everybody hates on Maseratis and Alphas. But let's be honest, when everybody's driving around in Teslas and Corolla, or in Teslas and even say Corollas and the new Accords, and you see all these little bot mobiles driving around and these little Jetson mobiles, let's be honest. Like even a Maserati is more interesting. It's got that snarly engine exhaust note and Alfa Romeo with the quad engines. Like they were cool cars. So a lot of these vehicles, they may not be perfect. They have their share of issues, but they're kind of interesting. And tomorrow's video too, we're going to share on some of those the last few good cars that you can probably get your hands on. Elder Scratches says, Tesla way better than my BMW X5 for maintenance. I spend way more coin on the X5. Which kind of X5, which engine and that? I would probably agree. I mean, they say Tesla, and I've done the reviews on it in terms of the lowest ownership cost over a 10-year time frame, and Tesla's the cheapest one pretty much of all brands. But yeah, I mean that's kind of, and you got the 50i. Well, there you go. That unfortunately is a little bit pricier too with the the N63. The N63 engine in there. You've got the twin turbo V8. So those are going to be a pricey unit to maintain. The 40i isn't quite as bad. It's a little bit less money to operate. But yeah, BMW is always going to be a pricey car to keep on the road. They're more enjoyable, but flip side is they're a little bit pricey to keep running too. It says, I would like to own Italian cars, but electronics is not their specialty. I think... Yeah, I would agree. I think that's not too far from the facts. But I mean, a lot of brands are now domestics are having a lot of problems. Even some of the Japanese cars are having some issues too with some of the tech these days. 78,000 miles just changed the transfer case oil, and both differential oils was 1,200. Would have been 3,000 at BMW. Wow. Yep. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I know it's not cheap. That's why I've learned to DIY a lot of the stuff too, right? You're saying $1,200 versus the $3K. I was actually looking at winter tires here today, and BMW wanted $4,000 for winter tires for our Benz. $4,000 for four rims, 4 tires. $4,000, man. Come on, I could buy myself a nice little Toyota Beater and rip around in that. And maybe that's what I need to do. But either way, there's better deals. You look online, there's better deals, independent shops, small little tire shops, better deals out there. What do we got here? Natty Congo Forest says, do you still have the E60 M5? You betcha. You really got to come, all of you, if you get a chance, maybe head on down to Exotic Car Play Place, my channel, and make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you are, I've got all the notifications turned on. I know some of you have been missing out on some of the videos. It's a little disheartening. I know it's frustrating for you. It's a little frustrating for me as well. It's more about you guys though, missing the content. But I had some videos recently where I filmed talking about BMW, how the cheapest BMW can be the most expensive BMW you'll own. That, for example, is filming right in front of my E60 M5. So yes, in fact, I still do have the E60 M5, and I'm going to own that till the cows come home. Not because it's reliable. Nope. It's probably one of the least reliable cars on the planet. But I don't care because it sounds so good. It's like the F-Type, right? A little more reliable. The F-Type, I think, is a little more reliable than the Beamer. But reliability is not what you're buying an F-Type R for. It's that exhaust sound and that performance. And that's what the E60 M5 is doing for me. Okay, so the next one that is on the list of cars that these dealers can't sell is the Audi A5. Yes, we already said the S4, but now the A5. Now the S5 is doing better than the A5. Go figure, not sure why, but that's just what the market demands, okay? So the A5 is about 276 days market day supply right now. If they stop production today, which is not too far from a stretch, it's a possibility. VAG Group, I actually just chatted with a local Porsche a local Porsche gentleman who sells the cars down there. And he had basically said, look, the big issue they're having right now with Porsches is not, having good quality products, having interesting parts and cars and having the product line that people want. It's getting the inventory. They don't have the inventory available to them. And I think a big part of that, again, is the production and getting the tariffs and the cars to North America and all of that. But inventory levels are low. They have customers, but they don't necessarily have the inventory. So the Porsches, that's why they're not on this list. We have Sear Learn Old. Mark, off topic. Have you ever done track days at Area 27 in Osoyoos? No, I haven't. I know a friend of mine, he takes his car out there a bunch. He's been out there a bunch. He's been Thermal Raceway as well in California. But as far as Area 27 and Osoyoos, no, I haven't been there. Been to Osoyoos lots, never made it to the track, never taken my cars there. I'd love to spend some time on that track. I'd love to try ripping around in a fun car on that track. To me, like, that's what it's all about. But usually when I'm making a trip down to southern BC, it usually means I'm down there in family vacation. So I usually got the family hauler or some other vehicle that's not really made for the track. So it's rare that I would, kind of bring one of my toys down there. So yeah, I'd love to go down there one day and maybe just rip it up. But I actually haven't been on the track there, unfortunately. Dean says, hi, Mark. Hey, Dean, how's it going? I'm going to kind of cap this again with another, the top worst sellers based on extra, the high levels of market day supply, because that's what this conversation is about. And again, if you want to see the whole comprehensive list about the cars that dealers are not able to sell right now, they're just not selling because of high days market supply, be sure to check out yesterday's video on Exotic Car Play Place. I share that whole list of the cars that are not selling. So the last one, the drum roll, everybody. This one here kind of pains me to say this. This really, really pains me to say this. Any guesses what number 10 is? Any guesses what number 10 is? Anybody have any thoughts what the 10th worst vehicle for market day supply that's not selling right now on the market? Nobody's buying them. They're just sitting and they're sitting and they're sitting. I'll give you a hint. The market days are at 372 market days supply. Nope, Jeep Grand Cherokee. That's a great guess. And surprisingly, Stellantis has been on this list a lot in the past, but with all the big incentives, they're just not right now, other than the Ram. No, it's not. And also, Swarm Finder, good guess with the Stinger. It's not the Stinker, the Kia Stinker. But 372 days supply. Any more guesses? Any more guesses? Any more guesses, anybody? It's getting kind of cold and yucky. There's snowing like crazy. Okay, no more guesses. Well, drum roll. I'm going to tell you it is a luxury car brand. It is a luxury car brand. It's an SUV though, and 372 days supply. So in other words, nobody's buying them. Okay, I'll just kind of talk through this. Number one, they rebranded themselves this year, and they fell on their literal face. Denali, good guess. Nope. Infiniti QX80, nope. But they tried to rebrand this year. They failed. They said they're coming back on a hiatus to create nothing but electric vehicles. Oh, look at that. Swarm Finder says Jag. You betcha. It is a Jag, 100%. Dean, right on, guys. You bet. It is a Jag. It is an F-Pace. Because the F-Paces right now are the only vehicles that Jaguar is selling. The F-Type you can't get anymore. No longer available. It's just not out there. Like the F-Type's gone. The E-Pace is no longer. The I-Pace are sort of like, I think there's leftover garbage there waiting to sell. They have nothing left. The XF, XE are long gone. They only have the F-Pace, and they're trying to sell what they have currently today. They've stopped production, but they're still not selling very well. Olympic Limfarka says, Mark, what's your thought about Mazda CX-60? Do you think that car will last many years or decades like Toyota? I think right now, I mean, as a whole, if I can just summarize Mazda in general, and that goes for any of these models, CX-30, 50, CX-5, maybe even the CX-90, although that one and the CX-70 are up in the air because it's a different straight six engine. It's hard to say. I think they're going to stick with the Toyotas. Yes, I believe they will. The hybrid now, the Mazda is carrying the same engine and drivetrain as the RAV4, the hybrid drive. So, it's even fundamentally the same vehicle. But I truly believe that what we're going to see is Mazda is going to kind of continue to hover in those upper 1, 2, 3 slot, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They're going to kind of stay up in that area. And Honda has been sliding. Honda has been struggling with quality problems, the CVTs and some other issues, 1.5s. Then, of course, now they're 3.5-liter V6 in the Pilots and the Ridge lines. It's a good engine when it works, but the problem is there's a bulk of them that have bottom end engine issues. So you're really fighting for top slot with Toyota and Lexus, and Lexus haven't been too rosy either with all those Tundra problems. So I think Mazda is going to stay on the top for a while. I think they're a safe bet right now. Swarm Finder, the F-Pace, they use it for autonomous taxis. I think they are built in China. And for Jaguar, they need to fire the new marketers and go back to the racing heritage. I agree. They've ruined that brand. They absolutely decimated Jaguar. Because I've seen several in Mazda in my town. They're amazing with their design. Hope their diesel will last. I love that red, that really deep red that they sell too. It's beautiful. Some Honda engines have wet belt, bad experiment. The SVR is a ripper. Totally. Absolutely. Again, there's a lot of conversations in here that you're going to see tomorrow's video. You're going to want to come back to see some of the luxury cars, some of those rare luxury cars that you won't be able to get your hands on in a couple of years. With the way these OEMs are pushing and the mandates and the governments are pushing us to buy these little small turbo 2s and 3s and hybrids and all this little stuff and EVs, you may or may not like those types of drives, whether you do or whether you don't. It's more about the choice. But as an enthusiast like myself and like many of you, you prefer to have a choice and something that's usually a little a little more old school, a little bit more authentic, a little more real. Instead of having synthesized sound in the speakers, you'd rather have that V8 rumble in there. It's just, it's it's frustrating because in a few years, all these cars will be gonzo. And for people that feel, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait to see what the market's going to bring next year, maybe the year after, maybe the market's not heading in a way that's going to get you better cars. That's not what I see. I see hypercars, supercars, kind of weird trending in different directions. And there's some really high horsepower cars out there these days. But if you like simple, good performance cars, fun, frivolous, and maybe not wrapped up in electrical tech, then you're going to probably miss a lot of these cars. And tomorrow's video, you're going to want to stop by Exotic Car Play Place and take a look at it. S-Class 2016 to 22, bingo. Also like the E-Class, E63 ES, or S, E63S, sorry. But I want the 2025 Acura MDX, the naturally aspirated V6, not sure what the turbo V6. Yeah, the turbo V6 is a hot little number. That's a quicker, peppier unit in the Type S, I believe it is. But the MDX is at NAV6, which is, I think, around 270 horsepower, 270, 280. Just make sure you check out the VINs. I agree with you. I like the 3.5, but it's the same engine that Honda and their 3.5s have had. There's been a group of engines that have had problems with rod bearings or sizing of bottom engine components. The bearings are kind of getting taken out in some of these cars. So just make sure you do. Apparently there's some VIN number specific issues. Just make sure you do your homework on that. Check NHTSA, National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. Check it out. Google, put in the VIN, check in the make, model, year. You can even do that even without a VIN, and it'll spit out any kind of complaints customers have had. It'll spit out any kind of issues, outstanding recalls, problems, and you'll get it right from the horse's mouth. That's more or less regulated. So the NHTSA is a great resource when you want to understand if there's any serious inherent outstanding recalls that are going to be a big problem. So definitely check those out. But again, as always, everybody, I really appreciate you all stopping by. It's been a really fast hour. Lots of great engagement. I really appreciate you all stopping by. Be sure to make sure you stop by tomorrow. Check out Exotic Car Play Place. If you haven't seen yesterday's video about the worst sellers, of course, on the dealer lots, check that one out too. You might have missed it. Dean says, I bought my F-Type because of this channel. I have it and love it. Would like to see more videos of the Ferrari. I absolutely will definitely be there to do that. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Everybody, I really appreciate all the support, and we'll talk to each and every one of you tomorrow. Don't forget to check out the channel. Browse the videos, yesterday's videos, tomorrow's video. So we'll talk to you all real soon. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Bye-bye.